Drafting a durable power of attorney. Hi, welcome to Elements in Focus. My name is Aaron Rheaume, and I'm the Director of Financial Planning here. Today I've got Daren Hardesty, Certified Financial Planner, one of the partners at our company, with me. We are covering our legacy planning portion of our five critical elements. And oftentimes we get asked in the office, Daren, do I need legacy documents? What are they? And so we're just going to talk through one of the most basic documents, and that is a power of attorney. So, Daren, how are you doing today? Let's run through power of attorney documents and really get into the nuts and bolts of legacy planning.
Yeah, it sounds great. This is one of those documents that I would say most of our families have heard of. Really, most people not just heard of, but maybe say that most people that we talk to, they kind of have a general idea of what it means. But a durable power of attorney is essentially a legal document that grants the authority for somebody else. In this case, it's called an agent or an attorney in fact that can actually act on your behalf for certain types of matters, financial matters, legal matters, and etc. There's certain limitations to it, but for most people, for people we've taken care of, there's a good chance that they have been their parents' power of attorney at some point, or they currently have a power of attorney that they've named. But really, it's important to understand, why you need it, when it would come into play, and those types of things. So this is one of those things that, for an estate plan, it's a document that's specific to something that can happen while you're alive. And so typically you see the power of attorney for most people when they actually, somebody actually uses it and files it with their bank or with their custodian for their investment accounts to make sure that they have that authority. It's normally during a time when you've become more elderly. Are dealing with incapacitation issues, whether that's a cognitive impairment or a diagnosis like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. Or you're just dealing with general cognitive decline, or you just might get to the point where you say, you know what, I'm tired of being responsible for this. I want to live the last part of my life and not have to worry about being the one that signs off on all these different things that I know I have to. You kind of grant that authority over to that power of attorney. It's durable. That word durable means that essentially it's already in force when you name a person. It's that person is already has the authority to act on your behalf, even if you're not incapacitated yet. There's also what's called a non-durable power of attorney, which doesn't actually come into play until you have been deemed incapacitated, typically by a doctor. So why have it? Well, we kind of listed off a few reasons, but it's important that you know as you're looking through your checklist of items of documents that you want to make sure as a part of your estate planning package, this along with a healthcare representative, it's important just because you never know what could happen, especially as you get older, to make sure that somebody is there to be able to sign off on your behalf. Now, a power of attorney has lots of power. You can do almost everything, but not everything. The key things that we typically see it for is if your regular bill pay. You want to make sure that somebody is responsible for getting your bills paid on time. If you're not able to do that or keep track of it, it's really a common thing for a lot of our families as they age. They start to forget about paying the bills. It's a good signal to say, hey, maybe I should bring my power of attorney in here to at least make sure that these things are getting taken care of. Another thing it could be, for legal matters, you can make sure that that power of attorney can, represent you to a certain extent. But typically we see them with our families, like as they're getting a little bit older, they know that they're slipping a little bit. They know that it'd be better to have somebody in there that understands everything that we're covering, and that person can then act as a fiduciary on your behalf to make sure that they're looking out for your best interest. Um, some things you can't do, which is important to remember. A power of attorney has no authority over changing your beneficiaries unless you give them that specific assignment. A typical power of attorney is not going to allow a significant change like that. You can't get a power of attorney can't get into your trust and make changes to your trust or other legal documents. They don't have that authority, but for the most part, it gives them a lot of control. Now, it's important to remember this. There are lots of different roles in estate planning that are similar to a power of attorney. The most similar is what we would call a trustee. So if you have a trust, and you have somebody in line to take over control of your trust at the time that you can't do it anymore, that's called a successor trustee. They have almost all the same powers as a power of attorney, but what's nice about a successor trustee is that they can act on your behalf while you're alive, and they can continue that after you've passed away. The durable power of attorney that goes away upon the passing of the principal or the person that you're serving under the power of attorney. You cannot be a power of attorney over a deceased person. So when we talk to families about when the power of attorney is going to be valuable to them, it's always a good reminder to say, hey, as long as you're alive, you're granting this person a certain amount of authority. But as soon as you've passed away, that document is void. It means nothing anymore. So that's where we like to recommend, if you have a trust, to make sure that your successor trustee maybe is coinciding with your power of attorney, so that that person has authority when you're incapacitated and also after you've passed on. Just makes the transition of assets and the transition of making sure that everything passes to the next generation. It makes it a whole lot simpler when you have that successor trustee in force as well. So if you don't have a trust, highly recommend making sure that your power of attorney understands that they have that role, going through and making sure they understand what they can and can't do, why you need them, things like that. It's important. So, Aaron, one more thing. When
Hmm.
people are thinking about, well, who do I name as my power of attorney? Well, it's your choice. Typically, if you're married, your spouse will probably be your first in line as your power of attorney. That just makes sense, to make sure that your spouse, who knows you best, is there to sign on your behalf and do things for you. But then generally, we don't recommend naming an institution as your power of attorney as a backup, but maybe one of your kids, a close friend, somebody who's going to be able to, that you can ensure that they're probably health wise and age wise is going to be a little bit younger, a little bit more healthy than you, to make sure that they can serve in that role when the time comes. So that's a really important role. I think a power of attorney is a much more personal role. So it's my general perspective is that if you have kids, naming them at least one of them as your backup to your spouse is probably the best move. Just because when you're dealing with bill pay, things like that, that's much more of a personal aspect of your estate plan. And so we'd recommend having somebody close to you that you communicate with often and can make sure it can take care of those types of things for you. So a lot of stuff on the power of attorney. It's a very important document. It's a part of any estate planning package if you're ever to put one together. One thing that FEG can do for you as an FEG family is that we have a platform through wealth.com that we are able to actually draft powers of attorney for you. You know, on your or for you, like with you, alongside you in this platform. Um, it's really important. Power of attorney, one little side note as well, is that it's a state specific estate planning document, meaning that if you live in Indiana now and then you move to Florida to retire, one of the first things you should do is update your power of attorney for Florida's rules to make sure that that's accurate. And again, FEG is able to do that for you through our platforms to make sure that we can make that a little bit simpler on you. So wealth.com is a fairly new platform to the company. If your advisor's not talked to you about it yet, it's probably just because you were in a situation that it didn't need to come up in conversation. But highly recommend that you talk to your advisor about that and kind of see what it's capable of. This is a document that we can easily get turned around for you in a hurry and make sure that we're helping keep you up to date whenever things like that change.
Thank you, Darren. As most of our topics that we cover on the five critical elements, we talk through very general and very basic specifics, but you got pretty detailed there. So well
Couldn't help
done.
myself, Aaron. I get going and I can't stop. So
Yeah,
it's definitely an important document, but I made it sound a little bit more exciting than what it actually is. But it's still a very crucial document that you keep with you because you don't ever want to be in a situation where you don't have that document and you don't want to rely on the state to kind of determine who has that authority for you. So it's definitely something to add to your estate planning documents if you don't already.
100%. So, Darren, thank you for talking about the importance of a power of attorney. As Darren mentioned, if you want just a basic review of your existing estate documents, that's something that FEG can do. Laws change, things change over time. And so let us review those for you. reach out to us. Schedule your complimentary next steps meeting, 800-928-4001. Scan the QR code there on the screen. Reach out to us at yourlifeafterwork.com. You can book a introductory meeting where our advisor team will sit down with you, give you things to think about today, things to think about in the future, and if we decide to partner together, a written plan of what FEG will do for you. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day.